So at the end of the day, China produces 60% of the world's rare earths. It processes over 80% of the world's rare earths, and rare earth products, it's over 90%. So that's the state of the nation where we sit now. So there's a call, of course, from the EU and the United States and Western countries generally to try and settle this monopoly situation down. And as a consequence, there's been quite a push for the rare earth exploration and development in countries outside of China. We've had other speakers that talk about the applications, but EV automotives is the easiest one we all know about, windmills, clean energy generation, but there are military and digital technologies. There's a lot of rare earths within your mobile phone, for example. And as Chrissy said, and the people on Mining Your Money were saying, the Western world clay-hosted deposits have the ability to disrupt both the Chinese supply and also provide quite a viable alternative to the hard rock supplies, which they are problematic on a good day. So let's introduce the rare earths down at Esperance. The Esperance district has got a hallmark of the disruptive, I've said that already. Importantly, it's sited in a first world jurisdiction. We're only 50 k's north of Esperance, so it's 5 or 6 hours drive from here. We're right beside the main road. There's airports, there's gas pipelines, there's all sorts of things like that. Our grades compare favourably with the best of the clay-hosted deposits around the world, and at the moment we believe that the benchmark is the meteoric one in South America. And I should also say at this stage that our metallurgy, our initial metallurgy is very good indeed. Now, we've all heard of clay-hosted rare earth deposits around Western Australia. Let's just put some scale onto this. This is our district here. There's, 25,000 square kilometres there where rare earths have been discovered. So this isn't a 2 kilometre by 2 kilometre postage stamp in the Yilgarn or somewhere else. This is a big, big area. Within this, this end here is largely under cultivated land. We've taken the view that we don't want to go there. So that leaves us up in this area here. So it's vacant Crown land largely. And there are at least five companies that are sort of working reasonably collaboratively in this area because this is a huge project. That's Mount Ridley's landholding. That's what 3,500 square kilometres looks like within that greater area. And I've highlighted a few of our better prospects there. So I suppose in the audience is Nigel Brand. He's a world-regarded geochemist, and it was he that suggested that we start looking in this area for rare earths. We previously had a tenement holding there for nickel sulfides, and at no time have we diminished the prospectivity of this area for nickel sulfides. In fact, it still is very prospective for nickel sulfides. However, today we're talking about rare earths. The rare earth mineralisation is agnostic to underlying rock types. So I'm going to go back a slide, but not press that button again. So these rocks here are 2.7 billion years old. These rocks here are 1.2 billion years old. So from there to there, you're traversing half the age of the Earth, and yet there's rare earths over the whole lot. Most of these are rock type called felsics, which are felspar and quartz. Through the middle there, mafics, iron-rich rocks. Rare earths across the lot. So what that's saying is that these rare earths are being dissolved from underlying rocks and then spreading out and sitting around what are called redox fronts where oxidation states change, very, very similar to gold. So through nature, possibly, a fair chunk of the hard work has already been done. These nearly inert minerals, which the hard rock guys are battling with, have already been taken into solution and recrystallised out in these big flat plains of mineralisation. The kind of work that we're doing at the moment, and this is a very busy one, and Guy, who's one of the directors, hates slides like this, but anyway, he can take to it. So at the parts of the project, and we've all heard that, resources, and that's where I can come in and help. And so at the moment we're drilling. Mining will take care of itself, stockpiling will take care of itself. Screening, this is a great differentiator for us. We can nearly double our grade just through simple screening. So that's where, that was a big leg up when we discovered that. Leaching, there's a lot of discussion about using ammonium sulphate, which has its issues, sulfuric acid, which has its issues, hydrochloric acid, which has its issues. Where we are, we're in it's called a hypersaline area, so the soils and whatnot are already full of chlorides, as a courtesy of sea inundations during the Eocene. So if we start mixing sulphates from sulfuric acid with chlorides from the ocean, it just causes another world of pain. So at the moment, we're talking about a chlor-alkali plant that has the advantage of generating acid. It has the advantage of generating alkali. You need them both to neutralise stuff before you can shove stuff out to rehabilitation. And all of that can be built on site. It's off-the-shelf technology. There's one of them sitting in Kwinana. We then will be working through concentrating, purifying, precipitating, which will give us a rare earth chloride, and then, of course, our rehabilitation. So at the moment, we have partnered up to some extent with metallurgy group IMO, and they're doing our leach test work, and WGA, who are an engineering group in South Australia. They do have a branch here in Perth as well. They have experience already in clay-hosted rare earth deposits elsewhere in Australia, and they seem to be very good guys to deal with. So while Mount Ridley hasn't been promoting itself particularly energetically, we are teaming up with good people that recognise a good project when they see one. Oh, sorry, there's a whole lot of other notes there. This is some of the differentiators for the clay-hosted rare earths. It's free dig, so you're not drilling and blasting and blowing up stuff. We can use a log washer to create a slurry. So as the last speaker said, the highest energy component of a lot of gold mines or other mines is your grinding circuits. We don't have to, or we can increase our grade through simple screen beneficiation, and it's at about 75 microns, so you can just do that with cyclones, and you don't have to dilute the hell out of your pulp, so you're at a pulp density that you can still work with. We don't have to put in flotation circuits, we don't have to put in a high temperature roaster, and we don't have to do a high pressure, high temperature leach circuit. We did have a look at one because the nickel laterites do that. So once again, it's a known technology, and we thought, well, maybe this is going to help us. It didn't. And as I said, the chlor-alkali plant generates acid and sodium hydroxide. It's off-the-shelf technology, so it's not as if we're reinventing the wheel. Now, this is a very busy slide. I don't need you to remember the numbers. The point is, we already have assays for over 1,100 holes, 50,000 metres. Within that area there, we're talking 1,200 square kilometres that we've reviewed. So, as I said, this isn't a postage stamp by any means. If I take our weighted average grade above 700 parts per million, you would have heard some of the other speakers talk about average grades that are below that. So our lowest cut-off is 700 parts per million. Our average grade is greater than 1,400 parts per million. And that contains about 25% of the mag, the other four elements that you need to make your magnets and stuff like that. That's where all the value is, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And out of all of this drilling here, it's an area over here called Mia. And Chrissy, are you listening? She never listens.
It was a very busy slide. I don't expect you to read it all at once. I've just been trying to read it.
Well, you were talking about names before. If I name Mia, and if I name Vincent, and if I name Butch, what's that from? You should know that. Vincent de la Vega. These are all names. Our projects are all named from Pulp Fiction. So.
Oh, God. I'll give you an extra minute now.
So our average thickness at Mia is between 6 metres of very high grade and 41 metres, but also very high grade. In fact, that 41 metres is nearly 4,000, so it's double our kind of average beneficiated grade. So let's look at some of the numbers, and these are stuff that we are going to follow up. You know, these aren't 2s and 3s and 400s, these are 2s and 3s and 4,000s. So that's our starting differentiator for a lot of the other West Australian clays. And bear in mind, right across the board, on average, these were able to be upgraded by 160%. So that starts to drop our grades at the point of processing, well over 2,000s, probably into the 3,000s. And that's where I say now we're immediately measurable against the meteoric one, which is probably the best deposit of the style outside of China. Interestingly, some of the higher grades also have higher proportion of magnet rare earths. So let's just say our average grade above 700 ppm is 1400. That can be projected to 2200 after beneficiation, which I said is just simple screening. But we saw already that quite a number of our starting grades are up around those 2000 mark anyway, so it's going to be higher than that. This contains 25% of mag rare earths, but interestingly, that accounts for 83% of the value. So those 4 elements that make up your mag rare earths account for 83% of the value of your basket of rare earth minerals. The rest of them come for nothing. So we've identified the red dots there are where the best of them are, and we've started drilling the blue dots now, about halfway through that program, so that'll be finished over the next couple of weeks. The other thing that you can see if you've got keen eyes is that these things are starting to line up on these magnetic features through here. So it looks like there could be some kind of geological control happening as well, so we can start to predict where we're going to be getting our even better grades. Now, the area that we're drilling there, that high priority target area, that's 25 square kilometres. So that's the scale of these things that we're talking about. There's hundreds of millions of tonnes just in this one target, and we have 11 targets out here. So we're working on this one as a proof of concept, and let's see where we get to. We are doing beneficiation test work. Again, we've got partners. ANSTO lead the pack as far as clay-hosted rare earths go. IMO, we've talked about. Simulus were a company that specialised in pressure acid leach, but they were able to help us out with some of our early test work. Our CITA test work was achieving 85% recovery from fairly modest amounts of hydrochloric acid, and our next round of test work will be to try and optimise that more using heavier slurries. This is what the thing looks like. Now, these sections here, yeah, I know, but you've given me another minute. I'm just getting to the interesting bit. You won't kick me off, will you? These are 2.5 kilometres apart, and you can see that these things just run fairly continuously. You know, there are dips and valleys and things like that, which are those magnetic ridges that we saw on the earlier slide, but that's 10 kilometres long. These are big, big deposits. And that's one in cross-section, and it's mineralised for 4 kilometres wide in this particular area. That's what it looks like, just clays. Can't get easier than that, can it? You can even see the colours. And it's around these redox fronts, the colour changes, which is where the the mineralisation. Isn't that a handsome pack of chaps? So here we go. Weighted average grade, value, read those things, and we would love to see you on our register. Thank you very much indeed.